What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. Now, I want to talk about Andy Ruiz. I saw a video, it's a fight hype video, uh, asking him about training and cutting weight and a bunch of different stuff. And he pretty much is talking about training with Canelo and his camp over there. He feel like that'll make him better, training around great fighters, having a great camp. Um, Called himself like a new Mexican, Mike Tyson, and he pretty much, seemed like he's refocused. And he was asked him fighting against Anthony Joshua and beating him, and with his height, as did he prove, not to discredit the interviewer so much, man. I don't want to feel like I'm seeing like I'm being, it's not that I'm being hard on the guy, but he's asking some pretty stupid questions, man. Like, he asked him, did he prove by beating Anthony Joshua that guys like Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield could compete with the heavyweights today? And I'm thinking, who in the hell in their right mind think Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield couldn't compete with these guys today? I mean, Evander Holyfield went 12 rounds twice with Lennox Lewis. I mean, do you really see any heavyweight right now as being better than Lennox Lewis? First off, Mike Tyson nor Evander Holyfield is as heavy as Andy Ruiz. Mike, I mean, height-wise, him and Mike are close. I don't know who's taller, if they're the same height or whatever. But Evander Holyfield, at 40 years old, sparred with a 19-year-old Andy Ruiz. And he said that Ruiz was fast and it was like that guy's, basically like, hey, it was back and forth thing. It was like this guy Andy Ruiz was no joke. He was only 19 then. So I mean, who really debates that? And even if they do, so what? Does it matter? But I mean, of course, Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield can compete with these guys. Of course. Tiger Williams was 6'4", 238 pounds. He fought a 205-pound Larry Holmes, and Larry Holmes beat him. So, it's not like these guys were the first. You just didn't have as many guys all at one time, 6'4", 6'5". You didn't have, the questions the guy was asking him, and he asked Andy Ruiz, why is he so good on the inside? And I'm like, okay. These questions are crazy because, like, Andy Ruiz has the fastest hands in heavyweights right now, and he's a very fast guy. He throws volume punches. He's short, so it's to his opponent's disadvantage to be 6'4", 6'5", to be a taller guy, period, and don't have that hand speed. And you're trying to, even if his height, you don't have his hand speed, unless you land something. Yeah, it's possible you can land something. Bam, get him out of there. But at the same time, I'm saying we know Andy Ruiz's hands is fast. I've said this so many times. And I use the same guys as an example because I like these guys as fighters, but they make the same bad mistakes. And people don't see it as mistakes. They just see it as their style, but it's mistakes. Like Errol Spence. I feel like this guy is taller than most of the guys he fight in his division. And for some reason, he's this tall, his opponent is this tall, and they're fighting this close instead of him using his reach, using his range. You can't worry about the fans going, oh man, he's fighting on the back foot. So fucking what? What rule says for you to be considered a great fighter or a good fighter, you have to stand and bang and just let your hands go, and that's that. It's not boxing. That's just brawling. That's they have bare knuckle fighting, man. Let go watch that if that's what you want to see. This is boxing, man. So those questions was just kind of crazy. Come on, man. Maybe he couldn't think of nothing else. I don't know. And Andy Ruiz said he's a modern day Mike Tyson, like a Mexican Mike Tyson. No, his style is nothing like Mike Tyson's. Mike had issues with cutting off the ring with people like Quick Tillers. There's certain fighters you saw the frustration kicking. Quick Tillers was the first person to go 12 rounds with Mike Tyson. And a lot of people felt like, if not most, felt like Quick Tillers won that fight. Now he got dropped coming in, leaping in with a lazy left hook, just jumped in, got caught, and and maybe people feel like maybe because of that point, but that he got that Mike got the decision. Regardless, um, Mike Tyson. As far as the comparison, they're nothing alike. The only thing they have in common is hand speed. They both can punch. Of course, I think Mike is a bigger puncher than Andy Ruiz, but they both have hand speed with power. Um, they don't fight anything alike though. Mike was an attacker. Andy Ruiz was a counterpuncher. They're nothing alike, so I don't even know like the comparison for him to say he's a Mexican Mike Tyson. Your styles are nothing alike, so that was not a good comparison at all. I mean, the only thing you guys have, like I said, hand speed, power, and height. Body type, no. Your ability to cut off the ring, Mike was much better at that. But Mike did come across some guys where you saw frustration. The same with like Andy Ruiz. It's not always true that you're not a good. It's like you're weak in a certain department. Some guys are just better at certain things. They're good enough to where you just can't. It's like trying to D Michael Jordan and then saying, "Oh, this guy's shitty on defense." No, it's just not. This Michael Jordan's that guy. You're not going to stop him one-on-one. So certain things you can do, certain things you can't do against certain fighters. There's no one fighter that you can do everything against the same, different opponents. Like, no, certain guys are going to test you in a different way. Not really much said as far as what he has coming up, what he's, who he's fighting next, nothing like that. Just a little bit of details about what's going on with him now. And we'll see. With Andy Ruiz, you can never tell with his clothes anyway, because sometimes he wears baggy clothes, so he might appear to be thinner, and then you see him, and then he's just he looks the same. So we don't know what he's going to look like in terms of what he's able to do skill wise. I mean, what he's able to do if he can really seriously cut weight and get down to a decent weight to where he will have the quickness. And it's not his weight so much. Why, like looking at him fight Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz just don't know how to cut off a ring. Andy Ruiz's hands is fast, and what he's used to doing is just kind of stand there. He'll jab and try to come forward, but what he does, he stands there. He waits for you to throw and reach, and once you reach, that's when he leaps in and just starts throwing those shots. And because of his hand speed, it works for him. We've seen against Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker fought in the back foot and danced around all night because Joseph Parker, who's known to have fast hands, he couldn't match that hand speed with Andy Ruiz. So he had to get in and get out. He had to fight him the way he did. So for people need to stop saying, oh, fighters are running. Right. How you call something fucking running when you are basically fighting to your strengths to win that fight? Because if you think that that's running, then you're stupid. You just don't know, and you don't understand boxing, and you just or you're just fucking stupid. Because if I'm training my fighter, and my fighter's in there, and the guy's too fast for him, and I'm gonna tell him, you have to use your jab, double and triple up on that motherfucker. Keep your hands up, step to the side when you shoot your jab, or jab and move. Don't try to exchange. When you get the shots, throw your shots, get in, get out. You understand what I mean? Now, when it's close quarters where a guy gets there and you can't get out the way in time and you got to throw something or tie the guy up, you have to do what you have to do to win a fight. I'm not going to stand there, hey, man, these people are booing you. Listen, you got to get in here and mix it up so they can start cheering for you. Nobody cares about that shit, man. People are going to cheer, they're going to boo. It's what it is. As long as you win, everybody don't have the style to win. Look, Gary Russell is a fighter who I feel like is explosive, exciting to watch, but look at Gary Russell. You can't remember much about Gary Russell's fights. There's no high profile. He lost to Lomachenko, and the fights that he's won is against guys where it's like, whoever talks about, yo, Gary Russell, that fight he had with such and such, yeah, that was an amazing fight. Nobody. And look at Gary Russell's style. Explosive, fast hands, combination punching. So, I mean, you have to have the right opponents. You have to have those signature fights. And just styles alone, which is why you see a lot of fighters, who, like Keith Thurman, for example, for a long time, Sean Paul, all those guys, they were trying to, hit that lottery with Floyd Mayweather. I don't really believe in passing the torch. I believe in lighting my own torch and making my own way. I don't need you to pass me anything. Now, if those fights would have happened, and let's say any one of those guys would have beat Floyd, then okay, you did what you had to do in that fight, but your career still has to go on. Your career doesn't come to a halt and all of a sudden, oh, he beat Floyd. He don't have to beat nobody else. No, as long as you're in the sport, you have something to prove. Depending on your stats, that will determine how many people pay attention to what you're doing. Like certain guys fight past their prime, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like they, people just focus more about, well, he's no longer the same guy. He's washed up now, and they don't pay attention to it. But when you lose, they'll make it known. But when you win against the same caliber fighter that you lost to, which is a fighter, fighters you would have destroyed in your prime, they only count the losses, not the wins. When you win, yeah, that's a bum. So what? Okay, well, if he loses to a bum, then when he beats that same caliber of bum, you got to give him credit the same way you take credit away. But Andy Ruiz, we'll see. And for me, I don't get caught up with what people say. I go by what they do. Because he was a guy who made excuses when he lost to AJ. Oh, I was partying. I should have been training. I should have listened to my train. Like, bro, come on, man. How long have you been doing this? Being a professional, the discipline that it takes, that's all a part of the game. It's not just the physicality. It's the discipline. It's using this right here. And if you don't have common sense, okay, I got this fight on short notice. Joshua didn't train for me. It's going to be different. You go in there, I got the win. So now to beat this man in the rematch, you know what? Let me go in here and train. Now I have more time. But then instead of that, they made mentions how he took it on a short notice, right? But then they turn around, and in the rematch, you have more time to prepare. And you decide you want to go out and party and spend money and do photo shoots and go buy cars and houses and shit like that. Okay, cool. So, you know what? That's not AJ's fault. Just like AJ didn't look right in the first fight, that wasn't your fault. That wasn't Andy Ruiz's fault. Ruiz did what he had to do. AJ got beat. Simple. Rematch. There was nothing wrong with your hands, nothing wrong with your feet, nothing wrong with your back, nothing wrong with you physically that you couldn't go. No. Andy Ruiz didn't even look tired at the end of that 12th round. He just couldn't cut the ring off. And if people think it's because of the weight, no. Look at Andy's feet. Andy Ruiz do not know how to cut off a ring. I watch so many fights and I go back, Ruiz don't know how to get on you and put that pressure on you, get under your shots, come in, trap you. He don't know how to do that. He depends on you, like I said, to reach and lean and your inactivity because his hands are so fast, he's able to get the shots off. He's a solid fighter. Don't get it twisted, but he's not good at cutting the ring off. Now, if that changes, we'll see. It has nothing to do with his weight. It has nothing to do with his weight. And people, oh, no, if he was, no. Look at any fight that Ruiz has had. You're saying he has the ability to do something that we've never seen him do. Now, can he get the ability? Can he learn to cut off the ring better? And we'll see. But you've never seen him in a fight with an elite fighter and he gets in it. No. You're not cutting the ring off when guys are just backing up, and then they stop and stand still and do nothing and you catch him. You're not cutting the ring off. You're just coming forward. When a guy's movement is so to the point you can't catch him, you're getting caught coming in, he's throwing his flurries, he's getting his shots off, and he's making you look stupid, making you miss, making you pay. No. You remember when Hearns fought Hagler? We know who the better boxer was between the two of them, right? And Hagler knew, okay, I got to just keep coming, putting pressure, throwing shots, catching this guy. Look at Hagler's face in 3 rounds. He was all busted up. He was cut. Hearns didn't have a scratch on his face. He got knocked out. You understand what I'm saying? Because Hagler kept putting that pressure, kept coming. Even when he was taking shots, he just kept coming. Hearns couldn't hurt him. He couldn't knock him down. He couldn't knock him back. He couldn't slow him down. Hagler just kept coming. Ruiz is not built like that, to come in and just take shots. And I'm not saying that he should come in and just take shots. He has to find a way to get behind a longer reach. And also what people are trying to do, they're trying to take credit from Anthony Joshua by saying, oh yeah, it's because Andy Ruiz was heavy. He wasn't. No, bullshit. The difference in that fight was AJ was different. Because the same weight and everything, like Andy said, y'all didn't catch that at one of those press conferences, he said, I thought coming in heavy would be better to give me more power and to compete with AJ's size and power. He clearly said that. Then he turns around and switch it to, well, yeah, I was partying. No, no. Then you're not a professional. Then you're not a professional if that's the case. You know, we heard Burt Cooper say the same thing back in the day. Oh man, when it came time to fight Vander Holyfield or George Foreman, whoever it was he fought, I was thinking about going to bed. I was out partying. That's not your opponent's fault. You know what your fight date was. You know what you should have been doing. Nobody cares about the excuses. So Andy Ruiz, like I said, AJ was different that night. And I feel strongly, and AJ said the same thing. If he would have fought Ruiz the same way, it probably would have been the same results. Because unless you catch him and knock him out with something, you're not fast enough to stand in exchange with him. So even when I heard guys like Paulie Malignaggi, he fought like he was scared. Robert Garcia, he fought like a scared fighter, you know. He didn't come in and he didn't. We already know what time it is with Robert Garcia, why he's saying that. And let's just be real. He's only speaking up because he's speaking up for the Latino fighter. That's all that was with Robert Garcia. Because let's be real. If that was your fighter in there, you're telling me that's what you would do? You would send your fighter and tell him, hey, you got to mix it up with this guy, even though the guy's way faster than you are and can get the shots off before you can respond to them. Then that's a stupid fucking trainer. It's as simple as that. You don't put your fighter, you don't, look. You know what it reminds me of? It's kind of like, and it's a funny comparison because you can be a slower fighter and the shot lands and you're out of there. Okay? But it kind of reminds me of that scene on Harlem Nights when Arsenio and the guys had Eddie trapped in there and Eddie was laying out telling them it wasn't me. Remember they was pow, 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 right? And then the guy, pow. Remember Arsenio? Don't shoot that little motherfucker no more. That's exactly how I feel with a lot of these fighters, where like you have a guy who he can do damage if it lands. Now think, right? The bullet hits him. It doesn't matter if it's a machine gun. It doesn't matter if it's a 22, if it's a 50 caliber, if it's a 44. Don't make a difference. What you have, if that bullet lands, it can kill you the same way, right? But think about it. Would you rather have a revolver and a shootout or an automatic? So it's like you have a gun that's just pow, pow, pow versus pow, 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 pow. That's what it's like. You don't put your fighter in there and put him in a bad scenario, man, and then expect him to do, I mean, like, come on. McCracken was telling Joshua, keep it long. Use your jab, use your reach, stay on the outside. But AJ wasn't listening. And he lost. It wasn't his fight to win, fighting that style. Enough on that. Now, somebody said something, because they saw the same video. And they actually said something to me about a person that died. Condolences to Vanessa Guillen, who was murdered. You know, she Latin American lady. Listen, I understand what you was getting at. And I don't want you to misunderstand me when I'm talking against racism and stereotypes. I agree with your point. I understand what you were saying, and I agree to the point of, like you said, well, see, how come this guy is only, he's asking Andy Ruiz about her being murdered because they're both Latin American. See, this is what I'm saying. I get you. But let me just say this, okay? Now, Andy Ruiz was wearing the t-shirt with Vanessa Guillen's face on it. And, you know, he's Latin American, she's Latin American, okay? But this is part of what I was saying before about stereotypes. Now, if he wasn't wearing that shirt, would the interviewer ask him that same question about her? I don't know. Now, I don't feel like he was wrong because he asked him that question. But I get what you're saying. It's like I said, we were growing up. We grew up, everybody was imitating Bruce Lee as kids and making a noise and imitating his style. Did we care that he's Chinese and we're not? No. Did we care that Chuck Norris is white and we're not? No. Did we care that Van Damme is from Belgium or what and we're not? No. Nobody cared about that. The difference with famous people is people act like it's like the politically correct thing to do. Anytime Bruce Lee's birthday come, hey, happy birthday to the greatest martial artist of all time. If Muhammad Ali's birthday come around, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, I'm just saying, whoever. My thing is, It's a human life. I don't care if you're Mike the Milkman. I don't care if you're Carl the Cable Guy. I'm not starstruck. I don't feel like because of star power, your life means more than the next guy. Like, example, if Mike Tyson died today and one of my kids or somebody in my family that I love died, who do you think I'm going to be thinking about? You think I'm going to be saying, oh, first Mike, now my kids. Oh, Mike, I can't believe Mike. No, the same. Put yourselves in those same situations. Somebody that you love, will you risk your life for? You love them. They died the same day as some celebrity or whatever. Or you're going to sit here and spend half the day crying for that celebrity and the other half on your kids? No. You don't give a shit about at that point. Not to be harsh, but at that moment you don't give a shit. You're not thinking about that celebrity. Now the world, the people that know who these people are, they're going to mourn. They're going to feel gravitate towards that. Who the fuck are your kids to the world? They don't know your kids. They can care less about your kids, right? But you love and care about your kids. So you're going to feel that pain. You're going to be the one weeping, right? I'll give you an example about popularity. Okay, there's, the old show, Good Times. A couple of months ago, Janae Dubois, that played Winona, died. You didn't see that on every, you saw like, R.I.P., whatever. But look at, for example, when Kobe Bryant passed, right? Shortly after her. You can't compare the amount of attention that Kobe got versus Janae Dubois. Why? Is Kobe's life more valuable to the world than hers? They're two human beings. That's the way I see it. People pick and choose what supports them and what's not. That's something you're not going to change in people. But at the same time, it's what I'm saying. This woman wasn't popular to the world, and like I said, I don't think the interviewer meant any harm by asking him that question. But what I'm saying is, you don't hear when there's people that died. I can give as many names I can stay here and give you right now of people that died. And I didn't hear Fight Hype or not one channel talk to people that's the same nationality and say, hey, man, whether you wearing a shirt or not. So maybe just because of the shirt, but the fact that he was aware who she was, and then he asked that question, I get what you're saying. But that's my thing. So we are only concerned when it's somebody that look like us, somebody that's the same nationality. Why? If we cared about human beings in general, when someone loses their life as a human being, your heart should go out to that person. Here's the thing about life. We don't know who's good people and who's not. We're not around these people personally. For people that's famous, we just see what they do in front of a camera. People who we don't know them. They might hate you. They might hate your people. They might hate what people that look like you. You don't know. You could be saying my condolences, and they might feel like if you die, they might be celebrating. You don't know. There's rotten people, there's good people. We don't know who's who. But as a human being, what I'm saying is, when you hear things on the news, you don't know who these people are. A family shot dead. Oh man. Do you have to know them? Just for your brain to understand, damn, some people got gunned down. We don't know what they did. Did they deserve it? Did they do something to somebody first? Was it retaliation? We don't know, right? We just, as human beings, we feel it go there. So I get what you're saying, and I agree with those points. But what I was saying was similar, and really was similar points. It was deeper and more because it was more added to what I was saying in the other video. But what I'm saying is, I don't know Vanessa Guillen. I don't know much about her. I don't know really anything of her. So, but the fact that know that she was murdered, you understand what I'm saying? A complete stranger. We see it all the time. Out here where I live, sometimes we're driving, you see the ambulance, the police got a street blocked off, come to find out somebody was gunned down at a McDonald's, somebody got killed at Walmart, and it's like, well, damn, you feel it because it's like, damn, it's a human being that lost their life. It's okay when you're 100-something years old and you sit there and die in your sleep in peace, and you're gonna miss them because that you love your people, right? They go. It is what it is. But when somebody gets gunned down, somebody gets killed and cold murdered, yeah, you're like, damn, you feel that. So yeah, those are the stereotypes of what I'm saying. Like example, why don't this same interviewer ask a black person that, or a white person that, or Asian? Why? It's like, I get what you're saying, but that's part of what I'm saying. It's not that people mean to do something wrong at times, but it's like, and I don't feel like he was wrong, but what I'm saying is the stereotype is, you only ask another Latin American How does he feel? Does he want to say anything about that? Ask other fighters that, man. Give people, you have a platform. Fight Hype is a big platform. Give people a chance to voice and show compassion on your platform. Not just Latin Americans. I don't know who she is, but like I said, condolences to her family because, anybody who cared for her because, like I said, it's a human life that's gone. But this is what I mean. It's just like when George Floyd died. You didn't see George Floyd's name all over Fight Hype or no other boxing. You didn't see and hear people really talking about that. You didn't. It's basically and understand when you and it's different too. It's when you're talking to other people that's unknown. I'm not a big channel. I'm not known to the world. You understand what I'm saying? But when you have channels who go out, like people who have access to these fighters, people who go out and actually interview these people and have, hundreds of thousands of subscribers or close to it, or, basically they get a lot of views. This is a way of letting people know in the world that, there are people that care. No, we don't have to be the same nationality to love each other. We don't have to be the same nationality to get married. We don't have to be the same nationality to be friends. You understand what I'm saying? So those type of things, that's what I was getting at. Some part of what I was getting at, because like I said, I was addressing a lot more. But yeah, I get what you were saying, and I just wanted to. I know you check and you see what I'm saying. Like I hear you. All right, I hear you. And that's part of what I mean about how people think certain things are normal. Look, you have people that think racism is perfectly normal. I have the right to be racist if I want. Why should I have somebody telling me I should love people? You have ignorant people that think that hate is normal. Racism is normal. Stereotypes is normal. It's okay to be rude and show no manners and just say whatever you want to say. You have a lot of people that think like that. But like I said, I don't think the guy meant any harm or Andy Ruiz meant any harm. It's just the mindset of what I'm saying. Why do you only ask Latin Americans about something when somebody dies that's Latin American? You don't even personally know them either. I don't know George Floyd personally. You understand what I'm saying? Again, you don't have to be the same nationality. If people only care about people because they're the same nationality, that's some racist shit. And it just goes to show ignorance, a lack of understanding. Because if all you care about is I only cry or feel it when it's somebody that look like me, then it's no wonder why things happen the way it is, and it's going to continue to happen that way. So yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and when I was telling you, relax, man, don't let it get to you. I know what you're saying, but I'm gonna do the video. I'm gonna break it down and make it clear what I was saying and tie that into your point. But people, that's what I'm saying about this whole we only speak when something happens to somebody that look like us. Because if people are getting killed that are white, that are Asian, that are Latino, that are Greek, that are German, that are Russian, and we know about this, because understand, we're not flying to these countries to get this news. We're hearing about this news right here in America. So if I'm only concerned when it happens to somebody that look like me, yeah, people will go, oh, how come you're not saying anything about this and this and this? There's a lot of situations we don't even know about, because I don't watch the news. The news that I hear about come from internet. I don't sit up and watch Channel 7, Channel 4. I don't watch the news. I don't like bad news, and that's all that's on there. Certain things do happen, though. It affects us. It affects a lot of people, and then okay, let me see what's going on here. But I'm not someone that just watch the news, so there's things that you may not know about. There's a whole lot you don't know about because you're just unaware because you don't see it. You didn't get the information. But to get the information about different people losing their lives, being murdered, things like that happening, and we just sit back and brush it off. But then when it happens to people that look just like you, now all of a sudden, yeah, people are gonna flag, well, where was all this concern when this person got murdered and that happened and this happened? So yeah, and all the finger pointing, and with all the tension that's going on in the world right now, and something, people, a whole lot of the tension that we feel right now, that we see, that we're experiencing, mark my words, it's because there are people standing up against racism, and there's people who want that shit to continue to grow. One of the things that I really liked with the protesting, with the George Floyd situation, is I've seen so many young Caucasian people out there. There was Latino, there was different people mixed in there, and it's like, yo, look, let me tell you, every generation, people wise enough to know, it's going to take the youth to stop and kill the prejudice and stereotypes of older generations. Because the older people you get and people grow up and put that shit in them, they look for something to cling to keep racism alive, man. And it's going to take somebody, the younger generation, to just get to the point where they're like, no, we have to kill these traditions, this racist traditional way of thinking, these stereotypical ways of thinking. We got to kill that. We have to do it. And that's how it's going to have to go, because generation after generation, we've been accepting racism. We've been accepting the wrongdoing. So it's going to take generation after generation of seeing these stereotypes and racisms destroyed. Because if that's not going to happen, because these older people are not going to do it. They're set in their ways and they don't care. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say on this video. And I will catch y'all on the next one.